All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to Sports Innovation Lab's Ask Me Anything series. My name is Shanna McCardle. I am the event director here at Sports Innovation Lab. We have an exciting Ask Me Anything for you today. We have two players from Athletes Unlimited, softball players joining us. I will introduce them formally in just a minute, but just wanted to run through a few points before we get started. We started this Ask Me Anything series to provide access to leaders in the industry, and really we wanted to garner perspectives from across the industry. And as you can see from our past guests, we have done just that. If you have not been able to join us for every Ask Me Anything, we have them all posted, all past recordings posted on our website and our YouTube channel, and I'll make sure to share that link with you when I wrap this up. We are excited to continue with our Ask Me Anything series. Next Thursday, July 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have Michael Goldstein joining us. Michael is the head of sponsorships for MasterCard, so it should be a really interesting conversation about what he's been through the past few months and what he's going through now with sports returning. Quick reminder, our Slack community grows every day. We have new content on there every day, so if you've not joined us, if you've not joined the community yet, please do so. Super easy to join. You just click on this link and you can join. Okay, so this is an Ask Me Anything series. We're going to hear from you. Please make sure to ask your questions. Just share them right in the question window you'll see on the right side of your screen. You can ask these questions throughout the hour, and we'll try to get to all of them. Now to our introduction. So you all know Josh Walker. He is the president and co-founder of Sports Innovation Lab, and he will be leading our conversation today. Now on to our two guests, starting with Kelly Barnhill. She is a pitcher for Athletes Unlimited. Kelly is from Georgia and is a University of Florida graduate. Kelly is an SB winner and was the #1 overall pick in the 2019 NPF draft. Kelly is currently playing abroad in the Taiwan Professional Softball League.
Hi, guys.
And we have Gwen Svekis, who is a catcher for Athletes Unlimited. Gwen is from Florida, is a graduate of the University of Oregon. She was drafted 3rd overall in the first round of the NPF draft by the Chicago Bandits. She was an all NPF selection and was in the top 5 for home runs in the 2019 season. So we're thrilled to have both of you here today. And before I pass it over to Josh, I am just going to quickly show a video. So just bear with me as I switch screens.
I hope, is it that video? Oh, here we go. Yes. So want to play. That was the ultimate hype. Are you guys excited? I mean, come on, it's like right around the corner now. It's like coming. Yeah. You can almost taste it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for joining. Yeah, thanks for joining. This is great. And we really have, like, most of our conversations on the podcast are about what people think about the future, because the future is so uncertain, it's so far away. And there's a lot of uncertainty about what's about to happen for you guys, but it's going to happen. I mean, we're heading into August, and you guys are launching a new league. Tell me about how you guys got involved. We'll start with you, Gwen, then we'll go to you, Kelly. But, like, when did the phone ring? Did somebody say, "Hey, you gotta hear about this thing"?
Yeah, my journey's probably been a little bit different than most of our athletes, but I got a call in October from the commissioner of the NPF, which is the current pro league that's been standing for the last 17 years, and she said, you know, I have an interesting business opportunity. These guys in Chicago or in New York with this interesting idea, and I want you to go out there and represent the NPF along with there were 3 other people along with me. So the 4 of us went out and we met John and Jonathan, and at that point it was just a little baby idea, and it was really cool and innovative, and I was bought in from the start. I was like, I'm all in. This is another opportunity to expand our game. It was really exciting to finally people that wanted to back us and had the financial ability to pour into our game in a way that we hadn't seen before. So that was where my journey started. And I came on as a consultant. And what I think is really cool about John and Jonathan and the rest of the team they put together is they're business guys and they know how to run a business, and they've brought in the proper personnel sport-wise to be able to handle the sporting side of things. So they brought in us athletes, 4 of us at the very beginning, to consult with them. And we were hopping on weekly calls and going through the ins and outs of everything you could possibly imagine and launching this league. And then the wheels started to really get going. And then in, I think it was March, we finally launched, and we had about 15 athletes at the time. Now we're closing out our 56. And like you said, August is right around the corner. So we're really, really excited that this is finally coming to fruition. It feels like it's been so far off in the future for so long. And I'm just ecstatic that, we're full steam ahead right now, and hopefully everyone can stay healthy and we can get it all in.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that because there's a lot of things that the original business model did not consider, like maybe a massive health crisis kind of coming in the middle of things. But Kelly, similar story. Were you involved early on?
I was involved relatively early on in the process of getting the athletes, and I think I was one of the first 10 athletes to sign. I actually heard about it when I was in Australia. I was walking the streets of Melbourne, Australia. Our manager from Chicago, Tony, she said, "Hey, give me a call real quick. I have this opportunity I want to talk to you about." So I gave her a call. She said, "Hey, so there might be an opportunity for a new league. I think you'd be a great person for it. I think you'd really enjoy it. Here's Sherry Kemp's number. Call her to get more information." So after I hung up with her, I called Sherry, and then she told me kind of the ins and outs of what the league was they were trying to do. And it's pretty much as soon as she was done talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. I love the idea of having more opportunities for women to play, to show younger girls that there are more opportunities out there. And what I really love about what John and Jonathan have really done with Athletes Unlimited is they've done amazing. Like Gwen said, they're business people. They've done an amazing job at marketing and knowing what we need to do. They've done like everything right. Like we've done, like, before all the COVID stuff happened, everything, like we had these very elaborate photo shoots and everything, and they plan the social media, and they're doing everything they can to try to make this as successful as possible, and so that as many people know about it as possible. Because that's one of the things that we struggled with the NPF was, awareness. So I think we've been doing a really good job of getting it out there.
I agree. And just so everybody who's listening knows who you guys are referring to, John Patrickoff is the CEO, co-founder with Jonathan Soros, and the two of them, this was their brainchild from early on. They're launching multiple sports. They decided to go live with softball first. It's so cool to hear you guys talk about getting that phone call, because when Angela and I were working on this idea with them, it was like, how are you going to communicate to the athletes? How are you going to get them involved? And then, like, you guys are just getting like phone calls. You're like, we're in. It's awesome.
And it's really cool also because since I've been involved, and Kelly was one of the first ones, and then the 4 of us that I talked about originally got to be the ones that sort of went through and made depth charts on who we wanted in the league. So I think that's another really cool thing, is that it's athlete run. Like, we're hopping on a call every other Friday, and we get together and we go through everything that you could possibly imagine. Our needs, what we want, broadcasting, uniforms, who we want in the league. Now that's, resolved a little bit at this point, but early on it was like, hey, who do we want involved in our league, and how do we go after them? And it's just been really cool how player driven it is, because, everything we put out there is, hey, this is a player run league, this is a player run league. And it's really, they're walking the walk. They're not just talking the talk. So that's something that I also really admire about John and Jonathan is they've said that this is going to be our league, and up until this point, it has been our league to run and to handle. So I think that's just another really, really cool part of it.
So there's probably a good and a bad. I mean, have you guys gotten phone calls from your former teammates or players that you were, and they're like, hey, why didn't I get a call?
Yeah, it definitely
and
hasn't.
You're like, Kelly, you take this one. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been easy. But the good thing is that because it's player driven, it's not just, hey, Gwen's making the decisions for everything, or Kelly's making the decisions for who's in the league. So it's like, hey, you know what? you're right. We're going to put your name into the mix, and we're going to see what happens. It's not all on me. It's not on, any one person. It's a collective effort of who do we want in the league, to a degree. We didn't want it to be a 56-person effort because it might be stretched a little bit too thin. So there's 5 of us that make the player executive committee, and we're the ones that I think ultimately made the final decisions with the advising from other players or from Sherry. But yeah, it's definitely wasn't easy at some points because there are people where it's like, hey, this person wants in on the league, but we've already maxed out on our outfielders. So we can't put them in the league because, you can't have 40 of one position and not enough to field the rest of the team. So there was a lot of strategy that went into recruitment, and the process was a little bit lengthy, but it was also really exciting to be a part of.
And maybe you guys can touch on like what the hardest part for you has been, because I think every professional athlete looks at the front office and says, I could do that. I could do that better. Because of the way the league is organized and structured, you guys are put in a position where you have to make a lot of those decisions or at least contribute to them. What's been the most surprising thing from the difficulty of starting a league or running a league that you've observed at this point?
This could go a million different directions. And I think right now the biggest hurdle that we're obviously trying to overcome is COVID. And I know we're going to get into that. So if I'm taking that part out, I think, the biggest part that's been kind of interesting for me is navigating all the logistics and potential politics, trying to bring everyone together. Because right now there are a bunch of different umbrellas of professional softball. And also the timing of it is during a time where, college fall sports would be starting up again. So getting the highest caliber of athlete to participate while navigating, this person's committed here, and trying
the competition schedule.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. But I think we've done a really good job. Our group is really, really decorated and stacked. And, we have Olympians from multiple countries, which is really cool. We have people on multiple national teams that aren't going to be in the Olympics, but it's really cool. We have a wide range of representation and a really successful group of people.
Kelly, touch on Yeah, no, it's cool. I was just going to say, Kelly, touch on some of the players you're psyched to be sharing the field with.
Oh gosh, there are so many. More than just sharing the field with, there are some players I'm just gonna be so glad that they're gonna be like, I'm gonna have a chance to have them on my team instead of having to.
Talk about that. Yeah, talk about the draft, because you're gonna I don't think people are familiar with how this works. So lay into that a little bit.
Okay, so we have our 56 athletes, and every week the athletes we have a mini draft. So the top 4 athletes, based on points and the seeds and everything, they're going to go through and they're like, okay, who do I want this week? I want this pitcher, I want this person, this shortstop, and they go through and draft. And you're not just going to draft like, oh, I'm drafting all the pitchers. You can't have any pitchers. You have like certain like positions that you draft to a certain amount of each position. So every week you could potentially have a very different team. You're playing with someone one week and then you're playing against them the next. So that makes it very, very different from anything we've ever seen before, because you've always had your set team. You're working with the same people over and over again. You kind of get to know them, but now you have to be a lot more. I think what you're really going to have to do is you're going to have to communicate a lot more, especially on the field, a lot more communication, because you haven't practiced with this person, for 3 months during the fall, and you haven't played 30 games with them like you would have in college or in the MPF or anything. So it's a lot of communication and a lot of being flexible, because you're not working with the same people over and over again.
How many catchers are in the league that you've actually thrown to before in your career?
I think most of them. How many?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't I have thrown to, Gwen?
Me, Chitty, Aubrey, Jordan Roberts.
I've thrown to her. She's at Florida. She was at Florida. Yeah.
So at least half of
I think it's almost all the catchers. Almost.
Okay. So nobody's sharing secrets. They all know you pretty well.
I feel like almost everyone in this league knows almost everyone pretty well.
Yeah, there are no
I know that there are some girls that are going to be going through Athletes Unlimited, and they're going to be keeping a book. They're going to keep a detailed thing of what's happening, especially the girls going to the Olympics, because you're playing a lot of the Olympic competition right there. So I know that there's going to be a lot of like, hey, here's my little notebook. I did this, this, and this against her. She threw me this, you know. So there's that part too. So it'd be interesting to see if, I don't know if some of the other, I don't have this, but some of the other people might have a strategy going in. Maybe it's some of the other pitchers like, hey, I'm not going to throw this pitch. I'm going to save this pitch, you know, for the Olympics or whatever, or, you know, much. So there's that kind of thing that a lot of the girls may.
There might be a strategy as to some people holding back.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we're all very competitive people, and we love to.
Yeah, we're all going to win.
There's not going to be a lot of holding back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that they're also, the way they structured the league too also incentivizes you not to hold back. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about the point structure too, and how you guys are motivated as a player to perform individually versus at a team level?
Well, so I think a very common misconception when people look at the structure of the league is that it's all of a sudden all individual. And that's actually not the case. The chunk where you can win the most points is the team win. So first and foremost, you still want to put together a team that's going to make you the most successful as a group. You want to win first and foremost. So that idea, which is in the traditional structure of softball, is still present here, because the points you get individually is not going to come anywhere close to the points you can get from a team aspect. So that's first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, there's now all of a sudden this new avenue where you can get points individually. So it's pretty basic: single 10 points, double 20 points, triple 30, et cetera, et cetera. If you steal a base, you get 10, but to take away from that selfish intention, if you get caught stealing, you lose 10. So like, you would, like, if I got on the base pass, I'm not going to be stealing. But like, if I know there are only 10 points possible with
you got that speed.
With no risk of losing, I might. So a little bit of that de-incentive by taking away the points.
Yeah, no, that's clever.
For pitching, it's really cool. So every out you record is, I think, 4 points, and then every earned run is -10. And so what they did is, people a lot smarter than me ran all this data through all these tests, and they tested everything. They tested just the general stats to see, like, because my question was, well, you know, how is it not going to be just pitchers dominating the top, because, you know, they have so many opportunities to get whatever. And they ran all this data through, and it came out proven that it was not going to run that way, which is really, really cool. That they found a way to give points to different positions, because a pitcher being measured the same way that a power hitter might be measured, the same way a slapper might be measured, is a lot of work to figure out how do we make it an equal playing field for everybody. But they did it, and they ran it through our MPF data last year, and it came out. I mean, the MPF MVP was number 1. The pitcher of the year was number 3. The rookie of the year was number 2. So it all made sense. Like, it wasn't like, you know, oh, the MVP was ranked number 30 based on these stats. No, it totally made sense when we crunched the data, which I think is really, really cool. And just giving that outlet for people to get rewarded based on their performance as a complement to, first and foremost, still the team performance.
Yeah, it's very cool. So how are you going to earn most of your points, Kelly? Strikeouts?
Heck yeah, she is.
There's a little bit of a delay, so either you're thinking about it or you're just not getting it.
I think for me personally, that what we're going to.
Oh, now she's gone.
Lost Kelly.
Right.
She will get a lot.
Strikeouts.
She'll get a lot via strikeout. She's going to be humble when she comes back on and be like, oh, I don't know. People know. No, she's going to get a lot via strikeout.
Does she throw so hard that people will get caught looking, or they just can't keep up?
People get caught looking. Kelly is probably one of the hardest throwers in our sport. I would say he's probably top 3 pitchers that throws the hardest in our sport.
Hurts your hand kind of catcher?
If you catch it wrong, definitely. You gotta, I mean, luckily we're all pros, so we know how to catch at this point, but I'm telling you, if I was a young buck and didn't know how to catch the ball, well, yeah, it would definitely hurt.
All right. Unfortunately, we need to keep talking about business stuff, but I'd love to know if anybody throws a mean knuckleball at some point. Business stuff. Before Kelly gets back, because I know you've been running a lot of the business meetings for the planning of COVID prep and health and safety and things like that. Tell me what's been going on to convince you personally, but then all the other athletes participating, that this is the right thing to do in August and that the league is taking things seriously.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is that we've put together, Athletes Unlimited has put together a panel of medical professionals with Johns Hopkins doctors in Chicago. They have an athlete on the group. Yep, you're back. Hey, Cal.
Okay. Lost my internet for some reason.
No, you're good. And so they've put together this group to develop a COVID plan that is extremely thorough, and it's going to keep us safe, assuming people abide by the guidelines and do what, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. The resources they put in, the time they put in, and the effort they put in to make it a safe environment for us to compete is truly remarkable. I mean, I'm watching the other leagues, and there are some things here and there where I'm like, oh, we're doing that, or oh, maybe we should adapt that, but they've really done it right. So I think the most important is that I personally feel very safe going into this, and I've been very strict on how I've been living during COVID. So we understand that this is a pandemic and we're taking it extremely seriously, which I think is really important to highlight. And then outside of that, it's just hoping that everybody can, because we're getting tested before we come in, we're getting tested when we get in market, and then we're getting tested multiple times a week while we're in market. So I think it's important for people to understand that, this is 6 weeks, and this is an important thing for us to be able to do, because not only are we launching a new league and a new venture for sports in general, it's not just softball. This is for volleyball in the spring and whatever sports come after that under Athletes Unlimited. And hopefully in the future, male sports might follow this model as well. So this is a really important time for us to take Athletes Unlimited's model and abide by the COVID guidelines and be able to get our league up and running in August. And I think also people are just craving sports. So we signed a deal with CBS Sports and ESPN to get our product out there. So I think assuming everyone stays safe and everybody abides by the guidelines, this is something that we really need to get out there, because people are craving sport right now. So what launch something so new and so exciting for a sport that has the fandom. I mean, if you look at the Women's College World Series and how many people watch that throughout the postseason for softball at the collegiate level, the fandom is there. Now it's getting it to translate to the professional level. And I think Athletes Unlimited has that opportunity with the visibility that Kelly talked about earlier.
Well, you talked about, the downside of the current health pandemic. And also there's this opportunity, which is the fact that other sports aren't crowding the airwaves. Everybody is coming back, so it's a little bit less greenfield than it was, a few weeks ago. But there is a real opportunity for Athletes Unlimited and your league to get the attention it deserves when you guys go live. When you think about the way that the other players have reacted, and Kelly, if you have an opinion on this, please weigh in. Has anybody stepped out? Has anybody said, no, this is too risky for me, or I'm not going to do this? Or is everybody share your perspective with?
For the most part, everybody's sharing their perspective. There are definitely certain cases where we need to just be a little bit more careful or keep our eyes on it and then make a decision if we need to. We do have some athletes that have conditions that are high risk, and that's the reality of sport in general. And I think that our league is doing a really great job. People aren't bound to it. If you're uncomfortable, if you don't feel safe, if you just for your own health and safety don't want to come, they've said you're free to make that decision and you're free to go. So no one's bound to staying in this league, even though we've all signed contracts, which I think is another really cool one. You're seeing that across other sports that some athletes haven't been able to have that freedom to take their fate into their own hands. So I think that's a really cool piece. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely some athletes that have to be a little bit more attentive to what's going on, and that we need to make sure we have a safe environment for them to play in if they decide to play. So it's definitely not fun, and it's a little bit scary to be navigating right now. But like I said, they've done everything. They put in all the stops to make sure that we're being as safe and as thorough as possible. So assuming everybody stays by the guidelines that we've rolled out, and they've been very explicit about what those are, we're going to get this thing up and running, and it's going to stay safe the whole time. So that's our plan.
And once you guys get the league up and running, there's been a lot of talk about Athletes Unlimited doing cool things like an innovation lab and some, experimentation with new broadcasts, new technology. Did COVID derail some of that, or is there still an opportunity to do some things that you normally wouldn't do during a broadcast?
We're having a bunch of opportunities. I mean, the Athlete Innovation Lab that they put together, which is going to be essentially this area for us to use different technologies, different products, different services that are for recovery or for performance. Like I was on a call yesterday, and we're talking about, force plate training and prevention stuff. If I hold a plank for X amount of time, what's my body doing during that? And what is that movement telling me? And how do I prevent injury? Like really cool things that we haven't had access to in the past, which I'm personally extremely excited about. We've also definitely lost some opportunities just because of movement via COVID has made it too tough for some companies, which we understand, which has been another avenue we've had to navigate. So it's been really awesome. I'm excited for that innovation lab specifically because there's just a lot of products in there that have been historically hard to have. My dog's making an appearance, haven't had access to or haven't had the opportunity to consistently use, which we're excited to have as a part of our league. So yeah, there's definitely technological pieces that are coming into our market that we haven't had before. So it's going to be really cool.
Well, you met Mia the other day. She's on our team, huge softball fan. She's asking, she's not only a fan, she's a killer. She plays for Tufts. She wants to know, once the stats get up and running, how will they be broadcast? How will they be used in the actual streaming or live broadcast of the telecast? Like, are they going to be referencing your standings, and is there a whole thing around that?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be referencing the standings. It's really exciting. They're going to look at, we're having a combine at the beginning where we're running through different testing pieces, arm strength, speed, those kinds of things. And they're going to use that in the broadcast too. They're going to say, hey, look, she hits her top speed at XYZ. It's no wonder she's the leader in bases in the league this year.
What's your top speed, Gwen?
Oh gosh, I don't want to know. Going slower.
Kelly, what's your top speed? Are we talking 14 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour?
Kelly, tell me top speed underhand.
Yeah, underhand, 90 miles an hour.
For pitching? Or for running? Two very different things. Running, I don't know. But pitching, the top speed I've hit is around 74. Not consistently, but consistently around like 71, 72, 70-ish, just depending on the pitch.
Which for people who don't understand the difference in the length of the mound between softball and baseball, that would be the equivalent to over 100 miles per hour in baseball. A lot. I think it would be like 106 or something. I don't know the math on my head. Kelly's
and Kelly, your internet's a little spotty, but I hope you can answer this question.
I know.
What's your reputation on the mound? Are you somebody who comes in tight and gives a little chin music, or what do they think of you when they come up to the plate?
Well, most girls know I'm coming in and I'm throwing rise balls up, and even though if they expect the rise ball up, it's still got to hit it is one of the things. So I don't think I have one of the scarier demeanors out on the mound. I don't think everyone's like, oh, she looks really mean.
No, Kelly, tell them your walk-up song.
Oh, my walk-up song is "Wild Thing" from by the Trogs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Have you ever hit the mascot? Yeah, have you ever hit the mascot with it?
Sorry, cat. Yeah, I've come close, a couple times, but it was always fun growing up. Throw it hard, make the ball move, and you'll get it to where it's supposed to be eventually.
So tell me about what you think is going to happen in Chicago. You guys are going to have to. I mean, I know it's not Chicago, but you're in the Chicago area. For most of the team that shows up to Rosemont, and you guys are living together in different apartments and different locations. It's 6 weeks. You know, the NBA talks about their bubble. That there's a lot of talk about that bubble. Like, do the women take this seriously? Have they been on the calls? Do they understand this stuff? Is it like, or is it, does it feel like it's just, you know, like, yeah, let us play?
I think there's probably a little bit of a mixture of both, but I think for the most part, people are on there, and I think everybody's taking this seriously. We want to play. We want to be able to get out there and play ball, whether that's, you know, I don't care what softball capacity it is. People want to play softball right now because we've all been out for way too long. Kelly's had obviously a lot of opportunities overseas, which I think would be really cool for her to go into in her own way. But a lot of us are we're in this weird time where I haven't played softball in over a year. So I think that I'm just craving getting out there. And I know that there are a lot of athletes that we just want to play ball. We want to be able to play professionally and represent ourselves and continue our career. So people are taking COVID really seriously for that reasons. Like I said, we have a call every other Friday, and we have one tomorrow where all the players get on. Sure, some here and there have conflicts and they can't get on, but everybody has seen our COVID plan. That's been made sure of, and people are going to get guidelines, and they're going to sign off on them and say, hey, I understand this is serious, and I agree that I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to do this. And so far, we haven't had any pushback. Everybody's been really impressed by what Athletes Unlimited has put together to protect us. And I've had nothing but respectful conversations with people about, hey, I really like this. This is making me feel comfortable, and I'm ready to go. So I think more than anything, people are listening. They're attentive. They're hearing what we're saying. And like I said, they just want to get on the field. So they have no reason to not. It's 6 weeks, you know, it's like 6 weeks.
And Kelly, are you still abroad?
No, I'm back here in the States. I got back the beginning of July, or right before the 1st of July. Okay. So I've been back for a couple weeks now. But yeah, before that, I was in Taiwan from April 18th. Since April 18th, I went in the middle of COVID, went out to Taiwan. And then before that, I played a month in Australia as well. So I've kind of been all over the place.
So I know Australia has been really, really affected by this. What was it like in Taiwan?
Well, when I was in Australia, it was before COVID hit, before COVID was a thing. It was literally like, I got there like December 27th through, and I stayed through February 6th before anything really started hitting the news, before it was an issue, before it was a problem. So the only thing over there was wildfires at the time. There were a lot of wildfires, and it was affecting a lot of people over there. But Taiwan was really interesting because Taiwan has actually done a really good job at containing the virus. So when I first got there, I flew in and I had to do 2 weeks. Like, first of all, when you go in the airport, it's very strict. They have like a whole screening process you go to. You have to fill all these forms. I had to get a special visa for permission to go into the country. But you have to have a Taiwanese number so they can call you, because a government official is going to call you and text you every day for your 2 weeks of quarantine to assure that you're okay. And they're going through all these very, very like structured steps. So like I said, they only had like 7 deaths in the whole country, less than 500 cases, and they're very, very close to China. So everyone was wearing masks. At the time, like when I first got out of quarantine, there really weren't a lot of people out on the streets. But by the time I was leaving, life was back to normal. So it's been interesting going from that, coming back to the United States, and everything's being kind of like in the middle of a COVID crisis. So I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. I could go out. We did like restaurants are open, bars are open. Not that we went, but clubs were open. Like everything, public transportation wise, there wasn't really, no one was really worrying about it anymore. So to shifting kind of back to here where it's much more of an issue, and we have to put all these guidelines in place to make sure we're protecting everyone.
Such a drag. And it's amazing to have that juxtaposition where you're able to see it somewhere else and bring that back here. So are you guys having global players participate in AAU?
We have a few athletes from Canada, but in terms of softball, no, there's not much outside of the U.S. right now. Not that we don't welcome that, you know. Everybody's. I think we have one non-American citizen. We have people that are out, or were at least. You know, Kelly was in Taiwan. We had an athlete over in Italy, and then Tori, another one, was in Taiwan with Kelly. So we have one international athlete right now. We have a few more for volleyball, and a cool thing is we're planning on broadcasting internationally. So we're not discounting that. I think softball is just, especially this venture right now, is much more of an American. Like, a lot of American athletes are really interested in this opportunity softball wise, and we're excited to have a league in the States that we can grow off the MPF. And volleyball is going to be the first American pro indoor volleyball league, which is really, really cool. And we're getting a lot of interest, not only from American athletes. It's really cool to be a part of those phone calls. You know, we have athletes from Puerto Rico and Brazil and that are playing over in Europe that are really starting to hear about Athletes Unlimited and interested. So right now, softball, we only have one international athlete, but it's definitely the plan to make this a global league. We're not.
Certainly has the potential to be that way, for sure. So Avis asks, when do the games begin? I'm assuming that's a pretty easy answer at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we're headed into market mid-August, and then our games are going to start August 30th, and then we're playing all the way through September 29th, I believe, is our last.
So we were joking about this a little bit, and I know we're coming to the point where we're going to start wrapping this up. But think about how much your game will be affected on the field. You know, we were joking about spitting in the glove because I'm a baseball player, and I read the Major League Baseball articles about everybody spitting and how hard it's going to be not to chase seeds, and but there are things like high fives and swarming the hitter when they hit a walk-off, and things that are like legitimately going to be a little bit different. How do you guys think you're going to be like when you're playing? Is it just going to go away? And you guys are going to forget that you're doing this, or is it going to be something that you're carrying onto the field?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm interested for what you think. But like for me, I'm a catcher, so my position is in probably the closest proximity to other people consistently. I have the umpire behind me, I have the batter in the box. So I've made the decision I'm playing my season with a mask. So that's going to be different for me, but I've made that decision because I don't want to have to consciously think about the implications of not wearing a mask. I'd rather wear a mask and be able to go up to Kelly and have a conversation if she struck someone out or if someone got a hit off of her. Okay, what do we need to do to adapt? Because that's a natural part of my game I've been thinking about is,
but you won't need to do this, right?
Right. After the inning is I'm always communicating with my pitchers. Hey, what can we do better? What worked? What didn't? You know what I mean? So I've made the decision that I'm going to wear a mask because I think that it's just going to be easier for me because I'm in close proximity with too many people. I know some people aren't going to be like that, but there are going to be some realities that we're going to have to face. There's going to be a lot more mask wearing. There's going to be a lot more space in between. Like we're used to being in a dugout and all being huddled up together and cheering for each other, and that's going to be a little bit different. So I think that's definitely going to be a learning curve. Some people are probably going to have to be reminded, hey, don't spit or don't whatever it may be. Don't lick your fingers to get a grip. And but I think we're going to get there. I think people are right now at the height of consciousness in terms of these things. I think there are going to be definitely moments we're going to have to work through, but I'm confident that we'll be fine.
And Kelly, I'll ask you specifically because I know that one of the things that they said in Major League Baseball, which honestly, like I'm all for taking this stuff very seriously, but after a strikeout, if you fire it down to third base and it goes around the horn, the pitcher can't use that ball again. So you just got like the perfect grip. You've been scuffing this ball. You've been working it. You're ready to go. And the next thing you know, you got to like get a fresh ball. Like must drive a pitcher nuts.
Well, I hope they're not throwing any fresh balls into anywhere. I hope if they have a ball, if they have a thing of fresh balls. They've all been rubbing the dirt and, worked in a little bit, because there's nothing ruder than throwing out a brand new sleek ball that's just you can get no grip on. It's very rude. Quite actually, I'll probably ask for another one if you give me one of those. Not that I'm a princess or anything, but you gotta do what you do. Yeah, but I think just kind of going off what you asked, Gwen, is just that I think that everyone's going to try to be as conscious as they can, but I think there are going to be moments where, the excitement gets to you, and we're going to have to be like, oh, hey, this happened, and we were all very excited about it, but maybe next time let's do this instead. And I know Gwen said she's going to be wearing a mask. I personally probably am not going to be wearing a mask when I don't think it's not going to be comfortable, and especially I grunt when I pitch. So there's a lot of intake and exhale of air during that.
A little bit of Monica Seles.
Yes, when I'm.
Yeah. So,
but I think everyone's just going to be a personal choice.
Yeah, no, I hear you loud and clear on that. So I think what I'm excited about, and I've seen, at the college softball level, there's so much creativity in the dugout. I'm sure you guys are going to take this situation, create some new social media viral behavior, and it's going to take off because you'll be smart about how you celebrate and how you encourage each other on the field. We're super excited to see what comes on August 30th. I'm really glad you guys were able to take time with us today. I always like to give you guys the last word. So Gwen, do you want to kick us off, and then we'll let Kelly drop the mic?
Absolutely. I just want to thank everyone for hopping on, and thank you for letting us hop on here. I think this was a really fun. I've done a lot of interviews over the past couple months, and this was really fun because it was very conversational, and I love getting to be on with one of my pitchers and Kelly. I am going to plug us a little bit. I think you guys would really be doing yourself a favor by following our social media. Our social media content is really, really up there, and we have a lot of really fun short clips, and we have some long media where it's a little bit more podcasts and stuff like that. And then we have a really cool group putting together some just awesome graphics. So I recommend going over to @AU Pro Sports.
Yeah, you don't need to. Jack's gonna put it right in our chat.
Perfect.
So Jack, throw it in the chat. Throw their handles in the chat field.
Yeah, and we're on there for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I think we have a link to
TikTok. Gwen, how's your TikTok? Is it fire?
Well, I'm not really on the TikTok scene, but
not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, so I think you guys would be doing yourself going along. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipe, and I'm confident that this is going to be the next step for women in sports and hopefully for sports in general. So follow along with us. Watch Kelly strike me out. Watch me and Kelly strike other people out together. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, if you haven't played in a year, Kelly's definitely going to strike you out. Your swing is definitely going to be best.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. Yeah, cobwebs everywhere. All right, Kelly, drop the mic. Send us off here.
Well, thank you for having us on. Like Gwen said, this is a really cool interview with having the chance to have that open conversation. And always love talking with Gwen because Gwen's such a very bright person. She's very enthusiastic, and she knows all the deets about everything. But other than that, like I said,
one last question. What's the shirt?
Oh, yes.
Tell everybody what the shirt is.
Oh yeah, Kelly, give it to us.
Yeah. So it says female athlete crossed out, and it says judged by achievement, but not by gender. So it's not that separation of saying, oh, they're female athletes. No, we're just athletes. Our gender doesn't make our accomplishments any less. So that's kind of what that's about. And it's kind of what I wanted to, drop the mic with anyway, is saying how this is, I'm so excited for the opportunity with Athletes Unlimited because it's creating a voice for female athletes. I was on Twitter yesterday, and if you don't know who Sam Fisher is and don't follow Sam Fisher on Twitter, she's a very funny individual. But so it was, I think ESPN or someone, they tweeted out a chart, and it was name what team this could be. And it was determination, talent, and then recognition was a very low bar. And she said female sports. So of course, everyone on Twitter, not everyone, but a lot of people on Twitter were like, oh, go in this quick sandwich, you know, no one watches female sports. They're not as good as males, whatever. You know, it's not as fun. They're not as good. They can't beat males. So all this kind of stuff. So what I love about Athletes Unlimited is that we're giving power to female athletes. We're showing them how amazing our sport could be. And more importantly, we're empowering younger generations of women to look up and say, hey, look, there's a professional softball league. There's a professional volleyball league. You can be a professional athlete and you can work at that highest level if you're willing to put in the effort. And I think just giving them the opportunity to dream and give them something to work for. When I was little, we had a career day in 5th grade and I dressed up as a softball player. I didn't even know there was an MPF at the time, but I was like, I want to be a professional softball player. And everyone laughed at me. I'm like, I want to take away that kind of,
you rock,
you know? So I just think that.
And I love everything you're saying. I think it's like John and Jonathan from day one were like, they're going to make you guys owners. They're going to give you stake in this thing. They're going to make sure that you're invested in this, you know, from a business perspective. And that also gives you a whole different concept of transition, of inspiration, but also responsibility to make sure that this thing is hugely successful. So love it. Love everything you just said.
Yeah, and, I think all the athletes are taking it very personal and like investing the time and the effort to make this league work.
Well, look, respect to both of you. I certainly can't wait to watch, especially now that I know both of you a little bit better personally. I'm going to be looking for the riser, and I'll look forward to when COVID's over, maybe taking a few cuts at you and see what I can do. All right. You guys, stay safe. Be well. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.